For more on all of these developments, I do want to bring in Josh Haston with the Jewish News Syndicate. And Josh, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I did want to start off with the announcement that Iran made, naming the successor of the slain Supreme Leader Khamenei, the son. You know, what do you make of this latest announcement?
So on one hand, we heard from President Trump calling him a lightweight. On the other hand, I think that, from what I understand, he could be even more extreme than his father, the Ayatollah himself. So it's a clear indication Iran has no intention of giving up at this juncture. But that being said, Israel has already indicated it is posed to take out the next person in line. So in this case, looks like the son of the Ayatollah, the next Khamenei. This is a terrorist regime in Iran. They are the head of the octopus, sponsoring terrorism all over the world, from Hezbollah, Hamas, you name it. Iran is behind it. And that's why this war is so vital. It's so important, not just to Israel, but so important to America, the Western world, and really all of humanity. So we'll have to see what happens with this new leader. But, he's definitely not a man of peace, not interested in that at all.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I did want to share with our viewers this very latest social media post. This is a direct quote from Secretary of State Marco Rubio talking about the current Iranian regime, saying, quote, "This is a terroristic regime, and we are seeing them conduct terrorism using nation-state elements, using weapons like missiles and one-way attack drones. And the objective of this mission is to destroy their ability to continue to do that, and we are well on our way to achieving that objective." Josh, as we see the successor named, that being the son of the slain Supreme Leader, President Trump has said that he needs to approve the new leader, also stating the son is an unacceptable choice. Israel saying that it would kill whoever succeeded the slain Supreme Leader, as you mentioned, unless Iran ended its hostile policies. So the question that I have for you is, what does this mean when it comes to Operation Roaring Lion as well as Operation Epic Fury? Because these were open-ended timelines that we have received. We've also heard from President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu indicating that they will not stop until the regime is overthrown. President Trump saying that he needs to approve the new leader.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. That's because it looks like both Israel and the U.S. are in it to win it, are in it until the regime changes. This is a regime that massacred at least 32, if not 35,000 of its own people. And here we are in Israel, literally with missiles around the clock. Just a few minutes ago on my phone, an alert that there were more missiles in northern Israel, whether it was Hezbollah firing from Lebanon or the Iranians directly. This has to be open-ended until the regime goes. The president making it clear, and the prime minister as well, that this was a generational opportunity for the Iranian people to take back their country, which was taken from them rather cruelly back in 1979. You're talking about 47 years of terror against their own people and, of course, the rest of the world, anguish, no freedoms or whatnot. And that's what we're fighting for here. That's what Israel's fighting for. That's what the U.S. is fighting for. We're fighting for freedom. Khamenei, whether the father or the son, are absolutely unacceptable. The regime has to go once and for all.
I want to ask you this, Josh, because, there have been some mixed messages. We've seen Iran launch strikes against Israel, locations that are owned and operated by the United States, also Gulf countries. Meantime, over the weekend, we heard Iran's president apologizing to some of its neighboring countries, yet we see these renewed attacks. When it comes to the mixed messages, what does that indicate in terms of who is in control? So we've heard the announcement of the next supreme leader, but there still remains this vacuum. There remains a fragmented, a power structure there in Iran. Who really is in power currently?
Yeah, so first of all, to address what you were saying, I mean, this is absolute propaganda coming from Iran right there, saying they are not going to continue attacking against the UAE, against Qatar. I heard you mention Turkey before, with Cyprus, Azerbaijan, all these other countries. So whoever's pulling the strings there, and I'm sure they had a contingency plan in case their top leaders were in fact killed, and that was the case in the first few minutes of the war. Those who are calling the shots were probably the replacements of those leaders, and they're the ones who are pulling the strings. They're the ones who are deciding what policy is, and we cannot believe what they say. Just like I remember with Hamas, who's been lying for years and years when it came to the realities of what happened on October the 7th, Iran is implementing those same type of tactics, claiming they won't fire anymore, and then around the clock you are seeing exactly what they're doing, whether Bahrain, Oman, the UAE, you're seeing that they continue to fire missiles. And of course, here in Israel, where we've had already, I can't even tell you how many sirens we've had today, sending millions of people into the bomb shelter. But I want to be clear here. Israel is in a completely different position than we were on October the 6th, 2023. Whereas Hamas attacked us the very next day, Israel is stronger now more than ever and determined to end this regime in Iran, the head of the octopus, once and for all.
You were mentioning October 7th, the conflict with Hamas. We're taking a live look at Beirut, Lebanon, where Israel is, having very targeted strikes against Hezbollah. When we're talking about the head of the octopus, Iran, but also then the tentacles, meaning the proxies, the terrorist organizations that often move at the directive of Iran. What are we seeing in terms of those terrorist organizations?
Yeah, so Hezbollah had a choice. They could have chosen that they were going to do what was in the best interests of the Lebanese people and stay out of this conflict, but they decided that they were going to, in their words, avenge the killing of Khamenei. And now they've been firing rockets and drones pretty much every few minutes over the last several days. Israel, of course, with ground troops in Lebanon, trying to keep Hezbollah away from the border, trying to take out what was left of the Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure, which wasn't taken out in the last rounds with them. I mean, Hamas is also in Gaza, trying to attack, reports indicating they're trying to attack Israeli positions of IDF soldiers. So again, we're hopeful, though, that when Iran falls, these terrorist organizations who count on Iran for so much will no longer have the support that they need in order to continue on their evil ways. So it's all directly related to Iran, the head of that octopus, but Hezbollah deciding they were going to get involved, and Israeli leaders, if you listen, insisting this was a terrible mistake by Hezbollah, and Israel will finish them off once and for all, as well as Iran.
Josh, you were also mentioning propaganda by Iran, and I wanted to share this. This is from the U.S. Central Command. It says Russian and Iranian media claimed earlier today that a U.S. Patriot missile missed while intercepting an Iranian missile or drone and inadvertently hit a neighborhood in Bahrain. Lie. What really happened? An Iranian drone struck a residential neighborhood, injuring 32 civilians in Bahrain, including children who required medical treatment, according to Bahrain's government. Truth. As we're talking about propaganda and we're talking about the civilian population in Iran, President Trump continuing to encourage them to take this opportunity and rise up. Can you talk a little bit more about the propaganda that the current regime is trying to push on the civilians and change the narrative?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw this with Hamas time and time again, whereas a Hamas rocket would fall short, land in or near a hospital, and they would automatically blame Israel. The same situation is here. Any malfunction of these ballistic missiles or any type of weapons that they are firing, they will automatically blame Israel. They'll blame the United States. They will, they will not take responsibility for any deaths in their country. Hezbollah the same, Hamas the same. They have no problem using their own civilians, their own citizens as human shields. It's time and time again we're seeing this. Nothing new about it. And then they'll go and deny that they carried out the missile strikes. Hamas, of course, downplaying the October 7th massacre, saying it wasn't as bad as it really was. And then you have, I would call them useful idiots, unfortunately, on social media who go and spread the lies and spread the propaganda. It's been going on for a long time, and Iran is just taking another chapter out of that playbook there and blaming the U.S., blaming Israel when anything happens in their country, when in fact, as that statement indicated, they're the ones responsible. They were the ones responsible. U.S. and Israel, we don't target civilians. It's important to note the missiles that are being shot at us now, they're not just missiles. They have these cluster bombs inside the missiles, and it opens up and the bombs fall out of the sky and spread into the widest radius as possible for the explicit purpose of killing, maiming Israeli civilians. Those are the weapons they're using. That's who they are, and then they lie and accuse Israel and the U.S. of hitting these civilian structures, civilian installations there.
Josh, we've been hearing from both President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu talking about the next phase of their joint operations. What is that next phase? Can you kind of outline what the new mission or the continuing mission and those next steps are?
So from where I'm sitting here in Israel, again, we're being hit by missiles, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day. You have thousands and millions, actually, of people running to the bomb shelters. So I would hope that the next phase would involve completely obliterating the ballistic missiles program. From what I heard yesterday, and again, it's probably changed over the last 24 hours, I've heard that about 60% of the launchers of those missiles have been, in fact, taken out. I would like to see that number keep going up and up and up until we get to 100%. Of course, you have the whole issue with Iran trying to become a nuclear power, and that absolutely cannot happen. So we have to focus on several things: taking out the ballistic missiles, making sure that whatever's left of the nuclear program, which the U.S. and Israel targeted back in June 2025, making sure there's no more nuclear capabilities, and finally making sure Iran is no longer that proxy that we've talked about now of spreading terrorism to the world community. So those three things have to happen in the next stages. Hopefully it'll take much shorter than expected. Hopefully in the next few days, few weeks, we will have a complete grasp on the situation, a new regime in Iran, and please God, those people in Iran, the Iranians who have suffered the most, they'll take over their country once again in some fashion, so that we don't have the Ayatollahs there and the people there won't be oppressed anymore. So I think that's how things play out over the next few weeks, few days, few weeks, and into the near future here.
And when we talk about that open-ended timeline, is there anything in particular that you're keeping a very close eye on when it comes to, the understanding of an even greater successful mission? Is there something that indicates to you mission accomplished?
I would say when I don't have to check my phone as I have to do now, every few minutes or every few hours. It just happened for me where I'm situated near Jerusalem about 2 hours or 3 hours or so ago, having to come down into the shelter and getting that pre-warning, which you get, every few hours. You get the pre-warning, and then sometimes your area gets hit or doesn't get hit. Once the sirens stop on my phone, I think I will know that we have made great progress there. I think that is, for me personally, that's the first indicator. When children go back to school in Israel, haven't had school now in 10 days, when people go back to work, as much as I hate traffic, when I start seeing traffic again on the streets and highways throughout Israel, I think I know we'll, at that point, that we've moved on to the new phase and things will be looking more up and up. And I'm very optimistic. I know it's going to happen. Hopefully it'll happen very soon. And the U.S. and Israel together will really gain a complete control of the situation. I know we're controlling the skies now over Iran, but complete control, and then hopefully turn it over to a new government, so there'll be a new life for the people of Iran, so they can enjoy the freedom, Stephanie, you and I enjoy living in the U.S. or in Israel.
And Josh, I also wanted